There is a very specific data point, actually, that I'd like to start on.
Yeah.
And that is that in markets, specifically San Francisco, where you have Lyft rides and Waymo rides, you said San Francisco grew 20% year on year.
That's right.
Explain the causal or casual relationship within that data point.
Yeah. So, our industry is going through a big transformation, and it is the sort of bringing on of these self-driving vehicles. Waymo, of course, is the market leader in that. Anytime you see a transformation like this, one of two things can happen. You can either see sort of a substitution or you can see a market expansion. And in this case, we're seeing a market expansion. And it's not that surprising. When people take self-driving cars, they tend to like them a lot. They're a very reliable product. They're a nice private product, so you feel like you could have a private conversation. But at the same time, it doesn't seem to take away from people's interest in being driven by humans who can help with luggage or have a good conversation. Right. So it really is accretive.
This is a micro case study. It's one market, San Francisco.
Yep.
But the questions are, is Lyft gaining market share from Waymo in this city? Or is it that this is an issue of supply? So because somebody cannot get into a Waymo within a reasonable time frame, they go to the Lyft app.
Yeah.
Which is happening.
Probably both, honestly. Probably both.
So interesting.
Yeah, and I think this is such an interesting thing that's going to play out. My expectation over time is what will dominate will be the market expansion. And again, the reason is sort of simple. You have a cool new product coming onto an existing platform. And what we believe the hybrid network, which is human-driven cars plus AVs, really kind of creates the best possible outcome for everyone. But we'll all have to see how that works.
I think that you and I have discussed on several occasions the idea that the introduction of the Robotaxi and maturity of the market expands the overall TAM for ride-hailing. Just recap that argument.
I think that's exactly it. So, look, people take, just in the United States, about 160 billion rides a year in their private cars, okay? Today, we deliver 1 billion, maybe the other guys deliver 2 billion, so let's call that 3 billion, out of 160 billion. And it's a good experience. You're sitting in the back seat, you're able to text, you're able to have your own space. What holds it back? Well, for whatever reason, some people might not want to be driven by another driver or someone else in the car. This takes that away. I'll tell you a very specific story. So I was just with an old friend of mine. I just ran into her to the airport. Her son had a tragic accident a couple of years ago. Absolutely devastating physical accident. He's in rehabilitation. For him, the idea of getting in a self-driving car where the doors open wide, maybe there's not even a driver there, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just gives him more space to sort of be in his own zone, is actually going to be something.
It's a technology and an engineering story, a design story.
It's a design story, exactly. And so anyway, I'm very optimistic about this. And then when I look at our capabilities around fleet management and kind of matching supply and demand, I get really excited about the future.
Lyft is, let's go back to the core business and earnings, but Lyft is pushing outside of the United States. Every time you've been on the show over the last year, there's been a development on that front. But what did we actually learn through your earnings about how you're growing ex-USA?
So here's what's really cool. So Lyft was primarily a domestic company up until about a year ago, maybe call it 18 months ago. Then we started to expand in Canada. That's gone very well. Now we acquired a company called FreeNow and a couple of other smaller companies overseas. Okay, what's happened since then? We're in the process of transforming ourselves to a truly global company. Some of that is internal stuff, back of the house, multi-currency, GDPR, all these sorts of things. But we're also beginning to introduce new functionality to customers. So I was just in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago. I was very lucky to be there. I got a chance to check out on our beta app the ability to use the Lyft app, not a new app, but the Lyft app, to hail local supply, local taxi cab in Barcelona. I did it 4 times, it worked flawlessly. So good, because I don't have to do a different app. I already know the user interface and so forth and so on. FreeNow, the company we acquired, they're also growing now too because of some of the innovation and the technology we've been able to add to their stack. So look, our service levels are really good, and I love that about our product. And now we can take that to a more global audience and hopefully continue to grow as a result.
It could be Europe, Spain specifically, but how are those markets different to the United States? How does the consumer behave differently?
There are subtle differences. A very significant, difference, not subtle, is the role of the taxi cab in a lot of Europe is very significant. This.
They're culturally entrenched in many economies in Europe, as an example.
Very much so. And unlike maybe in New York, where people almost begrudgingly take a cab, for example, but in a place like Spain and certainly
You're going to
London,
have New Yorkers phoning into this program now.
And I get that, and I understand. Well, and New Yorkers have opinions about their taxi cabs, right?
Sure.
But in Spain, it tends to be almost a career. You get in the car, and it's probably someone who's been doing it for many years. Maybe his father did it as well. Certainly in London, everyone knows the knowledge. It's a whole sort of incredible thing. So that's a really significant difference. And for us, it favors us because FreeNow is strong in taxis. And the sort of double click there is because taxis tend to be quite regulated, the relationship that that company and now our company has with governments tends to be quite strong, which, back to the AV question, really matters a lot. AV is new technology, and for a lot of governments, it feels maybe a little bit intimidating, and we can help there. So it's a really nice sort of set of circumstances that tends to sort of favor our business.
In markets outside of the United States, Uber is already there in some cases, Bolt, etc. How are you going to make Lyft different from a technology perspective or just a product perspective?
Yeah. So stay tuned on this. This is actually a very, very live conversation we're having internally. I can use some of the examples of the U.S. maybe and give you a little sense.
Please.
So in the U.S., we've really redoubled our innovation. And you know some of these products. Women Plus Connect. I just heard that we've given over 175 million rides between women and women in the U.S. over the last couple of years. Lyft Teens, Lyft Silver. This is real innovation. We're hoping to bring some of that innovation to the European space for sure. And then there's also a lot of conversation around, let's say the reputation of those guys in Europe isn't necessarily super, people don't necessarily love the company. I'll just say it that way. And we hope we bring some joy to the conversation as well.
Internally, where is your biggest focus on the technology side? What are the types of people you're trying to bring in and things you're building, rebuilding, code migration, literally anything on the tech side?
Yeah, for sure. So many interesting things. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Some of it's basic, some of it's more far-reaching. Here's the basic thing. We now pick people up on average, so 75% of the time, we will pick you up either the same or faster than our big competitor. Okay, yes. Why is that kind of a big deal? Because our market share is smaller. So doing that reliably 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because people are busy. They want to get to where they are. That's an awesome accomplishment. I'm hugely proud of our marketplace team for accomplishing that. And then bigger picture, I'm really excited about Lyft Teen, one of our newest products that allows teens to get in and get constant messaging back to their parents to make sure the parents know that they're safe and sound. It's just a good, I look at this as almost a generational thing. A new car now costs like $800. No, excuse me, $800 a month, $50,000
on a lease basis.
On a lease basis, plus maintenance, plus gas, all these sorts of things. Lyft is just a better answer for a lot of people, and so I'm sort of excited when I look 2, 3, 4, 5 years out at some of the kind of teen innovation now, because I think that'll help change a whole generation.